I've got a little miniature Nerdville set up here, right?
Yeah. See, yeah, a bunch of cool shit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got yeah, I got it all out of the bank vault so we
Oh,
could.
you you have a bank vault?
My
That's
dad,
all.
my dad literally has. I mean, I tell people that they're, oh yeah, haha. I'm like, it's literally like an 8 foot, uh, wheel that it's 3 foot thick steel. Yeah, it's like he has a room there in the bank.
Yeah,
And,
my friend Ronnie has a vault in Houston. He goes, he's had Burst and Karina down there, and that's how he rolls. I think it's a Texas thing, you know. It's
oh,
a,
well, maybe so because he's had to move it around. Different banks, um, different locations. He's had to find ones that would allow him a room. But yeah, maybe it is a Texas thing because we were there one day and we ran into Jimmy Vaughn
right,
we're like, "Where are you going?" He had the room next to us with.
right.
I'm assuming,
Probably
yeah,
some of Stevie's stuff was in there. Yeah.
assuming number one was in there.
Well, it's like what's the most commonly asked question? It's like what's like if the house is on fire, what are the three, what three guitars you gonna get? I'm like, I don't know, man. The fucking house is on fire. You know what I mean? It's like, there's more pressing issues at the moment. I mean, I have a drill, but it's it's at this stage in my life, it's too it's almost to the point of where it would be impossible to unwind it, and but yet I still buy guitars every week, it's
It looks like you have them all against the window, so maybe you could just push them all out the glass windows. If
I got amps everywhere. Um, yeah, I mean in this particular location, there's counted them the other day, just because I'm doing some like cleaning, and there's 109 Tweed amps in this house right now. 109. 110. Sorry. I just got one from my friend Daryl Sheets, the Storage Wars. You ever see that show on
yeah,
A&E?
yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the guys on and he ran across a Tweed Champ in some storage locker, and he sold it to me, and then I bought the amp, and he bought one of my cars that had just been sitting. So I should have just traded him out. So I'll trade the amp for the car.
So when you say tweed, you mean just Fender tweeds, or you
Fender
mean
Tweed. Oh yeah. Well, here I'll give you a little. I don't know if you can see it.
holy moly, man? Yeah. All
That's
right.
some. That's the mint stuff.
Yeah. So
And
so so what were those champs, Princetons? Were they Harvards?
the whole set. It's I started years ago, probably 12, 13 years ago. It always starts with one. I got a mint something. I
Yeah.
think that I got a mint 310 Bandmaster with a guitar. And it was a conversation I had at dinner in Las Vegas when I was there recording, and I got a mint 310 Bandmaster. And then shortly thereafter, I got a mint Princeton, and then I found a mint Deluxe, and then a mint Vibrolux, and then I'm like, if I just keep going, I can recreate that old Gil Southworth photo, and then it escalates. So that's in this room here. It's everything from. I'm gonna see if I hope I don't miss anything. Champ.
Yeah.
Then there's the small box Princeton,
Yeah.
which looks exactly like a Champ, except it has two knobs, but still narrow panel.
That's what
We
I have.
have then the big box Princeton. We have Harvards, plenty of those. Um, Vibrolux Deluxe. We have
They made
uh,
they made a tweed Vibrolux.
they made a Tweed Vibrolux. They're kind of common.
Ah,
Tweed Vibrolux. Then there's the Super, both kinds of Super,
right.
which would be the 6V6 Super, the 6L6 Super. The 6V6 only you see them around 56. Then Tremolux, low power twin, Bassman, Bandmaster, Pro, and high powered. That's the whole set.
Wow.
It took me years to put
You
that
don't
together.
just have the set. You have what, 10 sets or something?
I can make I only have one. I have one mint high power twin, and it's the cleanest one I've ever seen. It's actually on the cover of the Soul of Tone book. And if Ollie Lieber ever sells me his mint high power twin that he bought for the same crazy number, we share a bond because we paid the same crazy number for each of ours. If he ever sold me one of those, his high power twin, I could make two sets, full sets of mint. But you know,
Don't
the issue with that is it's like, okay, so you have it all, and as you know, with amps and guitars, the longer they sit around, the more they fall apart. They're like an old car. But this is the stuff that I collect in this room is the cleanest mint example that I could find, and all of the amps in here, except for the Marshalls. Well, there's a few Gibsons over there, but it's 90% of my amp collection's Fender. I just decided years and years ago that I was gonna not buy everything, but just focus in on what I like. And I like tweed amps, and then so here we are.
so the low power and high power twins. Which are the ones you play?
Um, I like the 80 watts.
Uh-huh.
Um, the ones they made like 58, 59, 60. Um, they're just tighter. There's not a huge amount of difference between volume wise between a low power twin and a high power twin. If you crank them both in the same room, they're both like pretty loud. I mean, really loud. Um, the difference is what you feel under the strings. Like with the low power, it's a dual rectifier, 40 watt, and you really feel the rectifier sagging. And
Yeah.
where
That's
the high power is just a 5A, it was a 5R4 or AR4 or whatever. It's the little bugle boy. And it's not enough rectifier for the amp, and they tend to blow out sometimes, but it's a little stouter feeling. And I like articulation, and that's, my kryptonite is too much compression, too much gain. And if I don't, if that, but honestly, with a low power twin, the trick to those, same thing with pros, 310 bandmasters, supers, any amp that Fender produced with a high, higher wattage, without a mid-range control, just turn everything up to 7, including the bass,
okay.
and it's instant Clapton.
Yeah.
What do you play in there? What is this, the broadcaster?
This is one of them. So
Oh, wow.
this one is check this out, and because I just weighed these earlier, this one is barely 7 pounds,
That's great.
and 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 I'm playing straight into my um, Princeton. Tell me what you mean. I'm not really familiar about the big box Princeton. What were you saying?
Well, the Fender Princeton, a tweed Princeton,
Yeah,
um, like in '55, Fender did some odd stuff when they were transitioning from the TV fronts and the wide panel ones, they call them. Like in '55, they made a small box Champ, and I never knew a small box Champ existed until I bought one well, not accidentally, I intended to buy it from a friend of mine named Gary Bohannon in Nashville. And he's like, this is back in the day. He's like, hey man, I got this Champ. I think it's a 55 or 56, $1,000. I'm like, okay, that's what Champs used to cost. 800, 900, $1,000. That's what they used to cost. Not 3,500, which they are now.
when was this?
This was 2015,
Okay.
2014.
Oh,
You know,
hey,
well,
yeah.
it was 9 years ago. And anyway, I was going back as before I had a place in Nashville, and I was just flying back to LA, and like any and it's got a cover, and I was like, any responsible guitar collector, what do? I bring it on the plane, stick in the overhead, right?
Yeah, of course.
smaller than the Louis Vuitton bags that some people drag around. And I was like, okay, cool. So I get it home and I stick it just in next to another champ, and I go, there's something off. This is smaller. And it is. And I've used it so much in the studio because it's just slightly truncated, but it's when you put a mic in front of it, it's so much punchier than just a champ.
Really?
Then I did the deep dive. And Terry Foster knows this stuff way better than I do, so he'll probably correct me if I'm wrong. So there is a small box champ, which is just same champ, smaller. There's a small box deluxe, which is 4-input deluxe, 1955, just smaller. And there's a small box Princeton, which is basically the size of a regular champ with 2 knobs. And then in like 56 or 57, the Princetons became a larger box,
Yeah.
but still with the 8. All the Tweed Princetons have an 8. They never had a 10. And the Harvard is the same size box as the Princeton, only that has a 10, and I think it's 12 watts.
Yeah,
And yeah, and then it's just you see a lot of the boxes, if you like Pros and Bandmasters and Tremolexes, all the same size box. Leo very rarely would have retooled. He just like stick a 15 in this one, same chassis, stick 2 10s in this one, or a single 12, and all they were doing is just swapping out baffles and different. The Tremolex obviously has tremolo and a Pro doesn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, this is probably a 59 I'm playing out of, but yeah, this is that broadcaster straight there.
That thing sounds really good. I think it sounds really healthy.
Yeah. The amp or the guitar?
Both. Well, the player's good too, It's like, what's the Chet Atkins quote? How does it sound now? You put it on the stand. No, like, that combination sounds like really good, And some amps, like I have I'll show you since we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't mean to put you on the spot with all the gear, but I figured it'd be fun.
Well, so here's one that's my secret weapon in the studio. You know what this is?
No, I don't. Is it a
1956 Forest White amp?
Okay.
It's a white. And Forrest White was one of the founding fathers of Fender, along with Don Randall and all those guys.
Yeah. Okay.
And in 55 and 56, Leo was nice enough and made Forrest White an off brand. So there's these white amps, and what this is it nothing but a Fender Princeton with it. It's got an 8-inch speaker and a slightly wider box, volume tone, and a different aesthetic. It's a Fender amp, and the thing about this amp, I bring it to the studio, and I was doing a track for Canned Heat about a year ago with Jimmy Vivino. And my guy, Rick Gould, was like, why are you bringing that? I go, just trust me. And there's something about a healthy Tweed amp, and there's some of them have the extra 5%. They just have a little bit of a extra bottom end push.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's the condition of the tubes or something. Not all of them have it, but I find it, especially with amps with 8-inch speakers, if you get the right one, they're devastatingly effective in the studio, and they just fit in the track. I mean, a 6 is a little bit. There's some of the early ones had 6-inch speakers, but they're a little anemic. But since on the subject of Fender Princeton, I'm full of surprises here. This is the first Princeton.
Is that an original?
Yeah. Wow. It's a I always go by the speaker code. It's about a 46.
Yeah.
46, maybe 47. Wow. And the interesting thing about these Princetons are, if you look close, there's no volume control.
Oh, wow.
So Leo's idea was you plug this in the wall. And by the way, there's no on-off switch. you plug this in the wall, it lights up,
Yeah,
and then you take your lap steel, which he was also happy to sell you,
of
and
course.
that's your volume and tone. So, you
That
know,
uh,
the evolution of all this is it's pretty insane, you know?
have you ever seen in some of those books about Stevie Ray that he was big on he had countless kind of design schematics that he had made up for different amps and guitars, just this
Right.
kind of, and there was one I always thought it was hilarious. It was just, an amp with no volume knob, right? Because he
Right.
was so tired of club owners telling him to turn down. He was like, sorry, can't turn down, man. This is it.
Yeah. You know, well, the thing is, you know, I remember, well, we both started very young, and we both have those pictures of us with Strats or Tellys that look way too big on us
Yeah.
back when we were 10,
Yeah.
you know, and 11. And I remember starting playing professionally around 1989,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even a thing to see in clubs, small clubs, guys using a twin and a super, or
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
three deluxes, or a pro and a couple of that
No,
wasn't a thing.
I mean, I grew up here in, Antones. I mean, that was where I grew up. The house amps there were a couple blackface twins.
Right.
Um, that's what we played. Then, then the supers. And then here's the cool thing: Clifford Antone, only for when Albert Collins played, he kept two uh, quad reverbs.
Quads. Yeah. Yeah.
Only for Albert Collins, and they were just complete everything on 12, man.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, that was the Blackface Twins. That was a couple of those on that was the backline.
Yeah.
Now
And
now it's like a super reverb is way too much for small clubs. I mean, from what I see.
the whole economic um uh, environment flipped when my dad had the guitar shop in twice in early 90s and then in the 2000s. The early 90s, the pecking order was the most expensive blackface Fender amp was the twin,
Yeah.
then it was the super, then it was a pro, and then you got down into like the deluxe
Mhm.
Princeton champ. Now you can't give away a twin. Nobody wants them.
That's right.
Super reverb, they're like, no. And you still can get them for like $1,500.
Exactly, man. And in fact, uh, I wanted to. I have a Vibrolux that I play with. A smaller
Five
one.
of them. Mhm.
But even that, that's pretty powerful too, man. So I was like, I need another deluxe reverb. And EJ, I just bought one from him. But what those are going for now is just unbelievable.
I
The
saw deluxe reverb priced with a straight face at $5,500. I'm like, surely you jest, because and what I don't understand is, there's so much interest in guitar playing, but
Yeah,
there's so little interest in it being loud, and and that is something that I don't understand.
they're
Be-
supposed to go together, man.
well, I mean, if you're playing jazz, straight bebop jazz, it doesn't have to be loud. But if you're playing rock guitar, blues and rock guitar, by nature, by definition, by the invention, say Jimi Hendrix, that's that's exactly what it was intended to. I remember being in Bloodline, touring around and playing clubs when we were on EMI Records, and the biggest question of the day for a 14 or 15-year-old was like, "You sure one stack's going to be enough tonight? Can't we put the other one up? We could slide it. Two stacks." And it seemed fine, and it worked out fine. Like, do you know anybody uses a full stack anymore? I mean, like, you can't give away a 4x12,
I've
you know?
got. Um, where is it? Well, I'm hidden back here somewhere. I've got. Uh, You can't even see it. My Plexi 100 watt right there. So
Yeah.
I bought that from Eric years ago, probably 20 years ago. He had to sell it to me because he said it was the loudest Plexi that he'd ever played, that he'd ever owned. And
Right.
you know how many 100 watt Plexis he's been through, right?
He's been through a lot.
So
Yeah.
he that was absolutely the loudest one. The last time I played it was at an outdoor festival, and I had a friend that was there. He said he was about 100 yards from the stage,
Yeah.
and there was there's like a 55-gallon metal trash drum next to him. And he said
Mhm.
that it was just vibrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, 100-watt amp, you get enough speakers, it'll throw. I mean, that's why I've always used the shields because I
Yeah.
got tired of people telling me to turn down. But so I kind of I came up with a way to where I could use the angles of the shields and and get the feel without the beat, you know.
I've
And I
got
get you don't want to be pummeled with guitar all night, especially in the front row. You paid good money for those seats. So there is a happy medium, but I think you have headroom is really it's the amount of wattage versus the amount of space you need to fill. Like in that room there, that Princeton's crushing. It's like, wow, this thing's loud. You can be like, oh, I could play a gig with that. No, you get a drummer in a big room, you're dead. It's not going to translate. You know, and that really is the thing.
um, but yeah, but so these days I've got a 68 50 watt.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean it's still, of course, even that everybody's like, oh, it's so loud. But with I have the same I mean the same plexiglass shield like
Yeah,
yours,
yeah.
and it's amazing, man. It sounds
I would.
great.
I have an interesting story about the Shields. The first time I met Clapton, this was 2008, and it was at a party in the in the country of Bahrain. I was there doing a show
In
uh, in,
Bahrain,
in Bahrain that went along with the Formula One race, and Eric's a big race car. He
how,
loves
how do
Ferraris.
how do you get booked in Bahrain?
Some guy called and said the Crown Prince wants you to play his pool party, and we're like, well,
Oh,
this could be interesting.
okay.
Anyway, and the Crown Prince still my friend, and that's where I met Jackie Stewart, the race car driver, and Paul Stewart, his son, and anyway, I met Clapton, and I'm a character. You've known me for a long time. I could talk to anybody about anything and crack a joke. Okay, when I'm around Eric Clapton, I don't really have a lot to say because it really is to me that is my hero, and he could sense I was a little bit nervous just to meet him, and he goes, tell me about the perspex. And I'm like, what perspex? I'm like,
That a word?
I'm like, oh, you mean the baffle? He goes, yeah. He goes, I saw a video of you, and you have the this baffle in front of your amp, and he goes, and my sound guys have been telling me that I've been playing too loud, and I'm like, he goes, do you like it? Does it work? And I said, well, it works for me. And at the time in 2008, I was maybe at best maybe playing 1,000 or 1,500 seats, and it was I go, it works for me. And I said, they say you're playing too loud. He goes, I only use a twin, and I go, well, it does work, but you're Eric Clapton. You can play as loud as you want. And but
the
what
the balls on the sound guy to tell Eric.
and I'm like, wow, two things. One, wow, he actually knows who I am, which is that was a mind blow. And the other thing was no, it doesn't matter who you are. It's like and there was conversations in Eric's camp going, how do we get him to turn down? It's like he doesn't have to turn down. That's what people have come to hear, that if you come to hear Eric Clapton play, or if you went to see Stevie Ray play back in the day, or Eric Johnson and stuff like that, and said, "Oh, the guitars was a little bit too loud," you know,
The
for
wrong
me.
show.
You're at the wrong show. You're at a guitar show. It's like if that's not for you, then obviously you don't want to be obnoxiously loud and hurt people, but you got to feel it.
What was the term he used for the baffle?
Perspex,
Perspex.
very English term for. I understood. Luckily, I could translate.
So I have a great story about that as well. There's a great friend of ours here in Austin, Bill Ussery. He was the amp guy here forever. He did all of EJ's stuff up until he passed away in maybe around 2019. But he did EJ stuff probably since the late 70s. And Stevie, he did a lot of stuff for Stevie as well. So he had this story that it was the Jeff Beck Stevie Ray tour, right?
Yeah.
1989 or something.
Yeah, Reese was on that. Yeah.
He was on that. Yeah, yeah. So I didn't see that tour, but from what I've heard, it was just notoriously louder than even normal, right? Because I guess both of them all night Stevie,
Yeah.
they're going to each keep turning up, and I always heard that was the tour that Beck said really damaged his ears.
I can imagine. I mean, that was also peak Dumble rig for Stevie. That's when he had the steel string singer and the Marshall Major. If the steel string singer wasn't enough, let's add a Marshall Major.
Well,
and another 4x12 with EVs. Wow.
Well, there's a video of them doing Going Down on YouTube, and if you watch it, I mean, Beck sounds great, but Stevie's tone is just, man. I mean, you can just tell how loud it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they were playing here. They were playing the Irwin Center, and I guess it was already an issue, the volume. So Stevie had Bill get him some plexiglass.
Right.
Right. They weren't. I don't think at the time anyone sold actual baffles like that, but he said build him something.
Right.
So he did, and they went and set it up at sound check and everything. And he said he was out in the crowd. It's a big. I don't know if you ever played or went to the Irwin Center here. Big, huge indoor stadium. But he said Stevie kicked off the first song. He made it about a minute in, and then he said he went over with his boot and just kicked that baffle down.
Yeah. There is a trick to the baffle. And because a lot of times they'll just drag some big ass drum baffle out and shove it in front of your twin. And so what I discovered, and there's a trick to the height. And what you want to do on let's just use, for example, a twin reverb. It's maybe 2.5 feet tall. You want that baffle, the top of the baffle, to just graze the knob, the line, the height of the knobs. You want it just to be maybe just a little bit above or a little bit below the knobs on the amp. We'll do the same job for the audience. What it won't do is take away all your perceived high end. Okay. It won't sound like it's going, and then you feel disconnected. And it allows you to basically, get the same sound of the amp. Only it's just kind of everywhere. It's not directional. It's omnidirectional, and the sound has to go somewhere. It just goes up. Yeah. And I discovered that because my friend Jim Moody made me a baffle for a show in Oklahoma City, and he just went to Home Depot and cut it, and it was for a 4x12. And I said, this is the greatest size, huh? Yeah, yeah. And he made it, and I said, this is the perfect size for a 4x12. So when we did our deal with Clear Sonic, and they sell 4x12 baffles and they sell, combo baffles, we use the same equation height wise. That going, okay, if you have a 4x12, it's got to be this height. If you have we based them all on 212 combos, so it's twins, and lo and behold, it does the thing. But for you, the guitar player, the player, you're not missing anything. As a matter of fact, you actually, it feels warmer, tighter, and thicker. And it's, as a singer, you're not getting that wash of 2K high end that's going to come in the mic, and you know what I mean? And it's not everywhere. It doesn't pollute the stage, but it still feels punchy. And that's been the secret for
So
years.
so I have yeah, I have the Clear Sonic like for my 412. Are you saying your signature one is a different dimensions?
No, the I gave them the measurements. So all the four by 12 ones are based on the measurements, because the old ones that they used to make were too tall. They would literally go maybe 6 inches, 8 inches above the 4 by 12, and it completely neutered it. And
Yeah,
and
it sounds great, man. It sounds
and like like Josh uses one on my gig begrudgingly. That's a mandate. Uh, and he has those two rocks, and uh, uh, has a two rock and Morgan with
okay.
a vertical 212s.
Yeah, he
So
loved that Morgan before. Yeah.
yeah, so he's got the two rock and a vertical, but they're both kind of vertical formats. They're not the and I know he was bummed. It wasn't sounding right for him. So I said, well, you're using a 4 by 12 baffle on a vertical 212. We got to cut. So my crew cut it down for him. And where it got it just above the thing, it completely improved the sound on stage. You could actually hear the top end. You could hear the mid range. It's not just behind glass and everything, where it sounded muted before, and then now it sounds open, but it's not directional.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing, man. Well,
It's
let me show you a few more of these.
all
So,
right.
and by the way, Joe, let me know how much time you have and all that.
Okay, yeah, no worries. We're good.
So, yeah, I'm playing out of the Princeton. Let me see what I can show you here. Well, here you mentioned when we were 10. I mean, that was my first one I was playing.
Hell yeah. Duosonic.
Yeah, man.
63, 62, 63.
I guess so. Yeah, I thought it was somewhere around 60, 60. But what do you would know?
I think they went to that sunburst in around 62, because
Yeah,
the early Rosewood Duosonics were usually you see them in desert sand.
yeah. I mean, yeah, this is the one. I mean, I played this on stage with Albert King and Buddy and Albert Collins and everybody.
How was Albert King? He was the one guy I never met and always wanted to, and he died when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah. Let me show you. Yeah. So yeah, that was with Albert.
That's something that not many people have.
And Susan Antone took that picture. She told us that was the only time she had seen him smile like that. He was notorious for being kind of grumpy, I guess. But
He's a drummer,
yeah, of course.
and and the thing about that's why like all those bootlegs you hear Albert, he's yelling at the drummer because he was a drummer. But the most immaculate, like Warren Haynes says it best. Albert was the most immaculate blues guitar player of all time, because nobody sounded like him before, and everybody sounded like him after. There's not like you can't go back to like, well, Big Bill Brunzi or whoever Blind Lemon Jefferson. It's like, oh, I can hear a little bit of that Albert thing. It's like, the early electric guys, T-Bone, which I know you hear a lot. B.B. King got a lot from T-Bone, a lot of Lowell Fulsom and stuff like that. But Albert King came out of nowhere.
Completely unique sound. I mean, and I would say Albert Collins was a really unique sound as well.
Absolutely. He terrified me.
It just kind of came out of a vacuum, man. Because even like Freddie King, well, I mean, you hear that he listened to BB King even because he was he was probably five 5 to 10 years after that early BB King stuff. But
And yeah, I mean, and it's like
you can't in Albert's King's playing. I mean, you can't hear any influence. It's just like his own, man.
it's his own. And the thing about, like, I mean, all those guys, I mean, it Albert Collins to me is, he was the most ferocious. And just, if you look at the riffs, if you
Yeah,
just count the riffs, same thing with Albert King. If you count the riffs, like, how many unique phrases did he have? Maybe a dozen. But boy, did he use them with just immaculate
yeah,
precision, and the timing, the phrasing, the feel. I mean, Albert Collins let me sit in with him. I was about 11 years old. Silver Lake Blues Festival, upstate New York. Debbie Davies on guitar. It
Debbie
was
Day.
the it was a classic. It was a classic. Albert Collins, 80s,
Yeah,
Alligator Records band.
yeah,
Johnny B. Hayden. Like the crew.
yeah. I know.
And he had that telly and a quad and a 150-foot cable. And I'm this kid, you know, kind of looking like what you were looking like deer in the headlights up there with his lace sensor equipped, Fendra Ultra Strat, whatever they call them. And he came at me. He pointed that Telecaster at me and stinged a note and didn't stop. And he came right at me. And he taught me the greatest lesson anybody ever taught me. Is like, you want to come up here with the pros, be prepared. And just because you're a kid, there's no quarter. We are showing you no mercy. And that, I was like, you know what? There's a lesson. And it's like, yeah, do you want to be polite and respectful to people? Absolutely. Do you want to beat your guests up? No. But every once in a while, remind everyone, it's like, he was like, I'm Albert Collins and you're not. And there's a reason why I'm here. And that was it. And then after the show was over, they dug up the pig that they were roasting since 4 o'clock in the morning, and everybody had sandwiches. It was craziest blues festival. They only did it like 3 or 4 times.
I played with Albert Collins more than any of those guys.
Right.
He out of all of those guys that Clifford Antone supported there at the club, Albert Collins was his favorite. Like it was like his best friend, man. And so I played with Albert many times. But the thing is that my dad in Houston, my dad, well, he moved to Houston in '59,
Mhm.
and, and at the time, the two hot guitarists were, I mean, and the Houston. I don't know if you know much about the Houston blues R&B scene, but I mean, it was very thriving
Oh yeah.
up through the later '60s.
Mhm.
All that Bobby Bland stuff was got their two steps from the blues, all of that. And so Albert Collins and Gatemouth Brown were like the two hot guitarists there. And there was a club there, I think it was the El Dorado Club, that every Monday night the two of them would play, and they would, um, they'd be kind of cutting heads, and
Right.
like battle of the guitarists. So my dad started going and seeing them then. But I try to tell people this is just, I mean, it's his story, but just how different things were back then. I mean, Albert Collins played at my dad's high school prom. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and one time he wanted to have a keg party in the backyard of my dad.
Mhm.
It was like 1961. So he hired Albert Collins to come play in the backyard. And they lived in this suburban neighborhood in Houston. And he said all of a sudden all these like there's like El Dorado, pulls up with a trailer. I mean,
Yeah.
they brought in the full B3, everything into the backyard. That's like 1961.
Yeah. A gig's a gig.
And same with Lightning Hopkins. They would hire him, yeah, for like high school parties. He'd come play in the living room for like $50 for
Right.
him, a little trio. It was all white high schoolers. And that was just how different it was back then.
Well, I mean, it's so funny. There's nothing like that today. Not even a hint of that. and it's 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 I always say our generation was the last to really rub elbows with the true greats and the true masters of this art form. I mean,
Well,
I shook Willie Dixon's hand. I didn't play with him, but I shook Willie Dixon's hand before he died. I mean, being able to hang with BB and Buddy and James Cotton and Albert Collins and all those guys, Junior Wells, and because there was always these blues festivals, and they were working,
gotta
and
love those those early '90s blues festivals, man. They're just like, yeah,
that was the who's who. Yeah, I mean, they all could bring it. Bobby Bland could bring it. You know what I mean? It's like, so I have a question. So in Austin, like,
yeah.
I remember going to One World Guitars
One World,
um
yeah.
a long time ago, and the day I found out that Danny Gatton died. It was some guy in the hallway told me, and I was like, "You're full of shit." And I'm like,
90,
14,
94 or 92 or
four. We were on tour. We were actually playing the old Antones on Guadalupe, whatever. And
that was Bloodline or
I was Bloodline, and I was out there, and we were out there in '94, and I saved up my per diem money, and I bought a Tweed Deluxe that I still have. It's right over there. And I uh, I forget the guy's name who used to run One World Guitars. He died. Nice guy. Was upstairs,
right, yeah,
and
the
he
Continental.
charged me $550 for it. And I always have this notion, this vision of like Austin in the 80s and 90s, or even before that. Like the streets were paved with Blackguard Tellys and Maple Neck Strats and all this stuff. Was it really like that? I mean, like, was there? I mean, because obviously you guys are collectors,
Yeah,
and was
you know,
it as plentiful as I think?
for me, I mean, all I ever had was vintage stuff growing up, just because my dad had all this stuff, and also he bought, the majority of all of this. He bought it all when he was on the road, the late
Right.
'60s, early '70s. So, while at the time it might have seemed like a good amount of money, but these broadcasters he probably paid $250 for each, and same with all of those guitars, and everybody has those stories from back then, but nobody kept that stuff. He just kept it all. He kept it in closet, and so I always had vintage guitars to play and amps too. That's all I ever played, so it wasn't anything out of the ordinary for me.
Yeah.
And also, just like you, I know you were going to the guitar shows with your dad.
Yeah.
All the we would go over to Ray Hennig's. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember.
I never went there, but I know the name.
Yeah, and there was always vintage stuff that somebody had just left there or had on consignment. The last the last deluxe reverb, we were just talking about those that I remember. I mean, I was probably 20 when I bought that. I think it was $200.
Right. Yeah.
That's just all that stuff was like that. I mean, it it just wasn't. And then as we were talking about all of the clubs, the backline was always vintage stuff.
Yeah, and it was cheap, and now it's for to go through that kind of metamorphosis about like, well, I like this but I don't like that, this is for me, that's not, there's no right or wrong in any of this stuff. It costs a fortune just to even investigate it.
Yeah,
It's like maybe I want to print, maybe a Princeton reverb is right for my gig. Well, it's going to cost you $4,000 to find out. I mean, like, that should, and again, you're looking at, well, when we came up, it was pretty much the United States, Canada, and Japan buying this.
sure,
It really
sure.
wasn't a thing. There's a few collectors in Europe. Now it's a worldwide thing.
Yeah,
Why? That's why the prices of balloon, although like the common internet belief is because I buy all the guitars and some evil plan to keep people from having them, which is lovely reasoning. But no, the thing about that is it's that's it's a worldwide market and a finite supply.
Yeah, yeah,
And people are now, it's great because it's healthy and stuff is valuable, but you have to kind of like you know these used to be $3,500 when I came up,
yeah.
and you think nothing about grabbing one from dad's shop
Yeah.
and
What
taking it to a jam.
what are they, 80 now? What are they?
Well, this is a 55 or 54. I mean, all of 40 grand,
Yeah,
and it's like it's like there was that joke that was going around. It's like you bring the world's most expensive gear to the world's lowest paying gig, and that's even more so now. It's like,
yeah,
but and that's the problem, you know but you can get a great sound out of anything.
yeah.
It's just not as cool looking. It's like,
Well,
when you see Derek O'Brien with that beat up 58, like it's fucking cool.
exactly.
It's not anything
That's
other than
all
that.
playing. So the thing about it, like for you and I, is that we, we have that attachment to playing this and those kind of instruments since you were young. It would be it would just be difficult to not have access to those vintage instruments, I think.
Yeah, when I first saw Ronnie Earl, he had a blonde Mary Kay Strat. I want to see Ronnie Earl playing a
Play
Squire.
sense.
Yeah.
I have a
I was
funny.
gonna say something else, but then it would be clickbait. But no, it was like he had two supers, daisy chained together, straight in, and a blonde Strat, and I'm like, that's cool. You know, he used to go to the jam at Antone's. Derek O'Brien had a super reverb, beat up Strat. I saw him play a bunch with Luann Barton. As we would tour around,
Of course.
Texas, and I'm like, it's synonymous with Alan Haynes had that red Strat that Stevie plays it.
Yeah, that's all he ever plays, man.
It's not a thing.
Not
It's
a-
just, I mean, Tommy Shannon played on Reese Winans record. I think is the last time the full band got together, the all of Double Trouble, and we did Reese's record.
he still has,
Naturally,
right?
he brought the white jazz bass in a Squire like cheap gig bag, put it in the overhead, and he sticks it on the stand. And I'm like, that's what I know. I'm like, that's what I think it is. And when he left for the day, Josh and I and my friend JJ Blair, we just stood around it going, Hendrix played that thing.
Hendrix played it, man. Yeah.
BB King played it. I
But
mean,
I mean, he played that at Woodstock, man.
at Woodstock, exactly. But if you ask him, it's like, Tommy, you realize how significant this is. He was like, I bought it for like $100. It To him, it was just a tool. It's not like this iconic thing, but when like Hendrix at Cafe Wah with Johnny Winter, like those photos exist, and that's Tommy's bass.
That's
And
it.
it's like,
Yeah,
I,
he said they were playing, and he just feels like someone tapping on his shoulder. Turn around, and Hendrix like, "Hey, can I sit in?"
and
Amazing.
it's so all the stuff that we find iconic and was just to them used, it was just a used guitar. But how lucky were they that used guitars were of that quality? Like,
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and the amps too, man. I mean,
yeah.
you're pretty much guaranteed a pretty great tone, and then
Yeah, it was yours to screw up,
exactly, exactly.
you know. Unfortunately, it's like it, it, I mean, as the years go by and we're in real danger of sounding like grumpy old men here, or at least I am. As the years go by, the problem becomes the quality of the components that go into the stuff that we use. Like, we're the last people to use quarter-inch cables.
Mm,
Who's using quarter-inch cables outside of the music business? Nobody. They were telephone operators, you
yeah.
know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I still I still use the George L. ends. People are like, "What the hell are those, man?"
Yeah. Tubes, you know. potentiometers, pots. Like, well, everybody complains pots are not the same as they were in the 50s. Like, well, they weren't making B-50, they're not making B-52 bombers, okay, all analog and tube like they used to. Okay. So Leo and Gibson and Ted McCarty, like they were this is military stuff. These why does the bulb, in this 1956 Fender amp that's all original, why does the bulb still work? You know what I mean? It's like stuff was built because this bulb and this little whatever, was made for a airplane or a tank or a communications. I mean, it was all military grade, high quality stuff that doesn't exist anymore. It's all digital.
Hilarious, man.
Would you ever go Kemper?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I went over to Eric Johnson's studio this summer and he was trying out that with do you know Dustin, Dustin,
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah. And they were going through, it wasn't I don't think it was the Kemper.
Neural quad cortex.
Right. Yeah. They were going, and I was like, what? Eric's considering using this? I was like, wow. He's really, I don't think he would ever use it for his live shows, but I think for doing clinics and stuff like that, he was like, yeah, he thought it was pretty cool. But
yeah, I mean, the convenience factor, and again, everybody's taste change and stuff like that. And to me, it's like, if I could be at a concert of Eric Johnson's, I wanted to be at the Bottom Line 88 or 89 when it's actually on film. It's actually on a Japanese bootleg, live at the Bottom Line. Tommy Taylor on drums. Was it Kyle Brock on bass?
yeah,
yeah. He had a Lake Placid blue matching headstock jazz bass, and Eric had the rig, the cut head twins into the 4x12, and the steel string singer and the super lead. And playing as many gigs as I did back in the day at the Bottom Line, those tables and chairs and that stage was not wide. It was short. Wow. And that rig was, I could imagine when he would hit that dirty rhythm or the clean song, people in the front row must have been like just peeled back.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's so cool.
So cool, man. Yeah.
It's so, and that's the thing. It's like convenience. Yes, it's always nice. I mean, as I get older, it's like I look at the way I bring gear to the studio or somewhere differently, the path of least resistance. But then you also have to go like, it's like, what do people want to see you play? What do they want to see you play? It's like they want to see me play. I know they want to see me play a Sunburst Les Paul or something. I'm like, I bring it out on the road because I know that's what they want to hear. That's what they want to see. And they sometimes hear with their eyes. Speaking
of the EJ Strat, so check out this. So this is it's a very early 54. You see the serial number on the neck on the
on the back plate, yeah.
Back plate, yeah.
That's a rare guitar.
Yeah, very, very early 54.
Short skirts. I like that. That's by the way, that plastic is unobtainium because it's just.
It's not Bakelite, right?
I think it is Bakelite.
Bakelite. Okay, yeah.
But those short skirts knobs.
Yeah.
And that football, I think the switch that shit is so hard to find. It's impossible to find. There's such a finite amount of those early ones. What was it, 01 or 02, or is it an 01 or 02, that guitar?
01, 36 or 86, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Yeah.
I love it. Primitive strats to me, my favorite, 54, 55. There's something charming about them. And talk about Leo getting it right the first time. I mean, there's very little difference between that guitar, which would the contours on the headstock would be a little different. They're a little more rounded. Um, it's but the differences between that and when he finally settled on something,
Yeah.
very little, you know.
Very little, man. Yeah. But
That's killer.
um, yeah. And this one, the case, well, you've seen all of these, but I was looking at the case, the little music store tag. It's Akron, Ohio, Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
Some Atkins music store or something, you know.
But you know, a lot of times you find these things with music store tags and it'll say, you know, Akron Music and Luggage. So they're you know, it wasn't like the some of these stores, it's not like it is today where like if you're a Fender dealer, you got to take 600 Fender guitars or 600 Gibson guitars. No, Leo was in the business to sell. It's like, you want five? We'll send you five. And they're selling luggage, they're selling, you know, mirrors and this and that, and they're selling Fender, Gibson.
That's like that. What was the black finish Les Paul you have?
The Blackburst, yeah, came out of a luggage store.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know, still got the receipts for it. And but you know, it wasn't like this thing is now where like you're like, for you to be a tier one dealer, you have to send us $150,000. They were like, it's fine, you know.
I've got a cool story for you. Well, I don't know if you can see. I've got can you see that beat up Tremolux back there?
Yeah, yeah.
My dad bought that new in 50 or 59 or 60. Okay,
Right.
so he bought it new in New York City. But anyways, he had a great story. He was uh, I think he was maybe 16, and he took the bus up to the city, and whatever the main street there that had all the music stores that are still
48.
okay. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so he had this great story. Um, I guess at the time his hero was Buddy Holly, you know, with the Strat. So he went up there and he wanted to get a Strat. I think he had $120 cash with him.
Right.
So whatever store he went to, he went in. He wanted to see the Strat. Well, the Strat was, I don't know what they were new, 199 or something.
189 or 199, yeah, depending on.
Like, all right, I can't get a Strat. Then he was like, well, I can sell it to you without the case, 179. You know, they looked at the Telecaster. You know, still finally looked,
Yeah.
finally looked at the Esquire, and it was like maybe it was $130 or $140, and he was like, well, I've got $120. He said, well, I'll sell it to you without the case for 120. Right.
Right.
I said, okay. So it was a brand new, I guess, 59 Esquire. Anyway, so he said the guy literally wrapped it up in brown butcher paper and tied it in butcher paper.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So he said he left the store, and he's walking in front of the display window of the music store, you know, half a block down. Right there in the display case was I guess it was a white Falcon, like a 1960 white Falcon.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh wow, man. He goes in and it's $120 as well. So he's like, oh man. He goes back to the store where he bought the Esquire, and he made up this whole story that he had called his mother, and his mother said there's no way she was going to allow, you know, a rock and roll instrument like that in the house, you know.
Right.
And, you know, he made up this big sob story. Begrudgingly, the guy, you know, took it back, gave him his cash. So he went down there to get the white Falcon, and he said as he's paying for it and checking out, that owner of the other store walked in.
Oh wow. They all knew each other.
The guy just shook his head, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it, I mean, like that was the thing. It's like, I mean, there's so many great stories like that. And I always tell people when you buy collect or like buy or buy guitars and collect shit like this, it's about the story. I buy stories.
Yeah,
I don't buy, you know, I mean, none of this stuff in here, I mean, none of this stuff is eBay or none of it. None of the like marketplaces. Like I'll go to Reverb or eBay if I need a part. If
sure.
there's a part or a speaker or something like that or a case, I
Yeah,
just got a killer 64 Firebird 5, didn't have a case when I bought a case. But if I'm buying stuff on a marketplace digitally,
yeah.
where'd you get it? I was like, I got it on eBay. Oh, no story, you know? Um,
I've
so
always noticed that about um, your stuff through the years. You always have to share the backstory, which is so cool.
And that's the point, the point of having this stuff is having the story. And I mean, like stuff that you know, I could like for example. So this is a 1939
Woo.
Triple 42.
Okay.
Like it's unplugged
Yeah.
Clapton spec.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Proving this stuff is still out there.
Yeah.
Um, and this came from the granddaughter of the original owner in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
And didn't have a case, and the case long gone. I found a case. My friend Ronnie sorted me out for a case, and it's like this came to me last year. Like
Mm.
it's still out there,
Yeah.
and and everybody, like people that have held on to this stuff for as long as they've held on to it, deserve to, you know, reap the reward. And she got fair money for it, and it's a great guitar. It's like
Fine, huh?
and it's like I'm not an acoustic guy, but I love these kind of
Yeah.
triple O Pearl Martins. It doesn't even make you want to use a pick, but this stuff is still out there.
Yeah. I'll show, so this is a 44 D18.
Nice.
Um, my my dad bought it from George Gruen in either 69 or 70.
Ah,
Like
okay.
right when George was starting
Start his
out.
business, yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, my dad tells me he would go over to his apartment and he would tell my dad, oh, I got to put the snakes away.
Yeah.
Right. That was his insurance on the guitars was putting them in a room with rattlesnakes.
Right. Hmm.
And
Still got the snakes, yeah.
so this was owned by he was a famous Grand Ole Opry picker, Sam McGee.
Hmm.
And so this was played on the Grand Ole Opry back, I guess, back in the 40s.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, these are, but yeah, they just, like you said, they just, and the instruments themselves deserve to be played, man.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
the thing about like buying stuff in the 70s, I mean, even think about like the founding fathers of the vintage guitar world, like Norman, George Gruen and Ed Seelig and Molinaro and like all these guys, like We Buy Guitars, Richie Friedman, all those guys, is you know it's now it's so easy. You can find it so easy. You want to find a 44 D18? Go on Reverb. They're
Yeah.
probably one or two. Back then, there was no marketplace, there was no internet, there was no nothing, and you're just answering ads, or if you were smart enough, you would call everybody in the union,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. You would call, once again, my dad, the band he was with, Mother Earth, had they started out in San Francisco in the late '60s, and then moved to Nashville around '69.
Right.
But do you know that first Boz Scaggs album? Well, Somebody Loan Me a Dime.
Yeah, yeah.
Allman's playing on it. They were recording that in uh, Muscle Shoals, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh, anyways, they Boz brought Dwayne up to Nashville to see my dad because Dwayne wanted it was either a dobro or a national, and
Yeah.
you couldn't just look it up like you said. He was like, "Do you know somebody that might know where I could get one?" So they went over
Right.
to saw George Groon, and he had one, and
Mhm.
but that's the only way you could find that stuff back then.
Yeah, I mean, Norm, that's how he met George Harrison. It's well, oh, and Norman's got sunburst light. He's got a couple of sunburst. Oh, it's like, and then everybody started dealing out of their apartments and finding, but it was a hustle, just like it is, today. It's like, if there's some really great, um, there's some really great guitar hunters now that use an algorithm and do it digitally, and they pull the crazy stuff out of
Al- what does that mean?
I think they use like an algorithm on Facebook or something like that, and but there's people that are doing that, and they're younger dealers, and know the guitars inside and out, and disclose the issues, and they're very fastidious about their business, and because now it's like, if you sell a guitar to somebody and it turns out the screw on the tuner isn't period correct, because I don't know, in 1948 it fell out, and it's put on. Oh my, there's hell to pay. It's like everything's got to be straight. And it's like, well, they have to use these screws. And it's like, you're losing sight
Yeah,
on why you do it.
sure,
But
sure. Yeah.
before we wrap up, what's the Les Paul?
That's the only not vintage one. That's a '09 custom shop that I play. But I've got that's a that's my '62.
That's
With,
great.
yeah, it's and it has the PAFs, so I guess it's earlier '62.
How's the neck on it? Is it bladey, or is it okay?
What do you mean, Blady? Is it real
Like,
thin?
is it kind of sharp on the edges? Because sometimes the 62s get a little sharp, but
No,
my main one is a 62.
it's not, man. The neck is wonderful. I love it.
Oh, those
Um,
things, by the way, I always tell people when I give them a tour of the rig, my best sounding Les Paul is my 62 335.
yeah, yeah, they're great, man. Let's see. That this is my first vintage. I bought when I was 17. Saved up, show money, and Tommy Taylor, who you mentioned, he played drums with me all back then. So he sold me this. He bought it at Oak Hill
Wow.
Pawn Shop here for $600 in 1986, and then I paid him 10 times that.
Still a
Uh,
good deal though, 6 grand.
yeah, it's a 60, but this was my main. I put a lot of work on this one.
He's helped me kind of track down. He helped me confirm that, I have that Jerry Jeff Walker Strat, which is also a 60. He has like this photographic memory, crazy memory.
Yeah,
And he goes, I remember that guitar being in Ray Hennings, and then it went to Jerry Jeff and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, great.
yeah. Let's see what else I gotta show it to you. Oh, this one. Maybe you saw this. I did an article in Vintage Guitar about this.
Is it a Super or a Dual Pro?
It's a Super.
Okay, cool.
It was owned by it was owned by what was his name? Steel player that played with Hank Williams Sr. Uh, what was his name?
Okay.
Jimmy Day.
Okay.
Jimmy Day, and he was also the house steel guitar player on the uh, what was that? The what was it called? Louisiana Hayride, or
Louisiana Hayride. Yeah.
yeah. I'll just see what it was said about it. Anyway, so he, I mean, he used this to back up Elvis, man, on the Louisiana. Not to mention on the road with Hank Williams.
Dude, I should give you I should give you my chairs. I play there all the time, the Municipal Auditorium in Shreveport, right? And I've done maybe 6 gigs, and about 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I noticed in the basement where the catering is, they had all these, they had replaced all the chairs, right? And
Is that where that
that was
was?
the Louisiana Hayride, the Municipal Auditorium, Shreveport, Louisiana. And they were nice enough because I asked, and I think Winona, Judd, and somebody else, Elvis Costello or whoever, had the wherewithal to ask, and they gave me 2 end caps from the Louisiana Hayride. Like, so they're chairs,
Oh,
like seats, theater seats, and there's 6 of them in a row, and I'm like, fucking people saw Elvis sitting in these chairs. History. They're gonna throw them away, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And
Well,
it's like, that's crazy. I have them in Nashville. I got to dig them out. I mean, it's such a historical place, you know.
man.
Um,
Let's see. I want to show you these two.
I was going to say the Esquire, the custom.
That's the '59 Custom, and that was bought. This is one of the ones my dad bought later. It's some shop in Boston. I'm sure you would know, but he bought it somewhere around '02. I can't remember the name of it.
From a guy named probably Bay State.
Bay State. That's right. Yeah.
Guy named Craig.
Craig. Yeah, yeah. Because I went there with him, but
He had a little shop down by Berkeley. It was upstairs.
upstairs. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man.
I'm pissed off. I had a really nice 60 Esquire Custom, and my friend who I love dearly, who's a guitar dealer, talked me out of it. And he still got it. And
Is he still your friend?
he still got it, but because he was a guitar dealer, and then he after about 2 months after I sold it to him begrudgingly, he sold it to somebody else who used to own this fucking house. And I'm like, this is a small world, man.
This is and how did he talk you out of? How did he talk you into selling it if he was just going to sell it?
Well, he wanted it for himself.
Okay.
And he was convincing. Then I called him and I said, you can't do that. I go, I'm going to get it back from Keith.
Okay.
And then he gets it back from Keith, and now he still has it. I said, listen, this only goes one way. The guitar goes back to me, or nothing at all, or burn it. I don't give a shit.
Kind of an incestuous guitar deal.
But I've been trying to replace it for a while. I mean, I have 4 Telecaster customs, or custom Telecasters, like 59, 60, 61. But I don't have an Esquire.
Too bad, because my dad he had 2 of them, and he sold the other one about 2 or 3 years ago at the Dallas show.
Yeah, so I want to mint one, you know. So it's like,
all right, here's the other broadcaster. Now this one is 1031 of 50. So it's the Halloween guitar, we call it that.
okay.
Right?
Yeah, mine's in October.
Okay. Tell me how much this guitar weighs over 9 pounds.
Mine's an 8-pounder. Mine's light.
I mean, this is heavier than a Les Paul, man. It's
Oh,
unbelievable. It's
well,
unbelievable.
most of the broadcasters are, you
Are they?
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we have two of them. That other one is super light, and then this one, you can see
What's the serial number on it?
Dino.
Yeah, I love it.
As my dad said, Italian guy owned it.
What's the serial number on the no on the pull the ashtray off.
It is 0188.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's a heavy guitar, man.
Yeah, the thing about broadcasters, you know, people people go crazy for them. They're very valuable guitars. And what you're really paying for is that fucking sticker.
Exactly. Yeah. Same with
It's
the no
not
cat.
it's the same thing with Nocaster. It's you're getting less of the sticker than the broadcaster because all they do is clip the word broadcaster off. Yeah.
But you would know this, the broadcasters and the early tellies, they have that blend circuitry? Yeah.
The latest blend, I have a May of 52 telly out in the vault that
Yeah.
still has the blend.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a pair of the 52 tellies back here too. And they have
they have the blend.
yeah.
Which is kind of weird because on the switchcraft, that three-way position switch is the same switch as they put in the Strats, and we wedge those all the time.
Wedge them, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You could on a broadcaster telly, early telly, you can get the 4 sounds. You can get the dead tone, the front pickup, and if you wedge it in between
I've never tried
in the back,
yeah, yeah,
you get both pickups.
yeah, yeah. I haven't tried that, yeah. Wow, man. Yeah. Cool. Well, if anything else you wanted to mention or there you go. Yeah. Wow, I haven't tried that before.
You can wedge them. You get 4 sounds out of a telly.
Hey, Joe, one thing thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, man. I'm so sorry, man. Like the weekend got away from me. I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking. I went in to play a couple of solos on my friend's record, and I was like he didn't know what day it was either. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be. It's like called me last night. He's like, I'll be there at noon, no problem. And I'm like sitting there going, I don't. It just all looks the same. And then I come out of the fucking session. I go, fuck, it's Sunday.
Yeah, man. Hey, something I wanted to bring up. I just particularly thought it was funny. I think maybe it was on that interview you did with Kenny Aronoff.
Right.
But I just personally thought it was funny because it was my exact story. But we're just talking about back, when we were kids, just learning stuff by ear with the cassette player, right?
Yeah, you used to jam the it's just to hold the play and the rewind because you could almost hear the downbeats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. That and see, I didn't even start with that. I started with my dad's records.
Yeah.
Right. And he showed me how to play, but he really taught me how to play, pick out stuff myself by ear. So I'd get the 45s and then put it on the 33 speed, right? And then you'd be picking it out in F, but the actual song's in C, right? So you'd have to transcribe that to C.
Yeah, but at least you got the positions,
Yeah, yeah. I remember learning. He had a 45 of Roy Clark, and it was Under the Double Eagle. You know that song?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's like a real fast country instrumental, right?
Right.
And he told me, he used to bribe me. He'd say, learn this BB King solo. I'll pay you $15. What note for note, right? That's that's how I got good at that. But I think that Under the Double Eagle, I mean, I don't know, 30 or $40 because it was a tough one.
Yeah, you'd be like, if you want me to learn giant step, that's gonna have to be $100, man.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's how I started. I mean, I didn't even have CDs until I was, 12 or
Yeah,
13.
same,
I
same.
said,
It was all cassettes. It was all cassettes and albums, and I used to put the cassettes on and jam along.
yeah,
I used to like the long jams. So I just zone out and improvise. And I had a Silvertone amp that was just slightly below in volume of the cassette deck. So I cranked the cassette deck to the
exactly.
point where it was kind of distorted, but it didn't matter. And then I'd play with the Silvertone amp. Lord knows how my parents tolerated that. Like
Yeah,
back in the day, it was just nuts.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's I just laugh because nobody else would even get that or understand that now. I mean, I don't know if I was starting to play guitar now and you know uh, you have spot. I mean, just any possible thing just at your fingertips. I don't know how I would even focus on one thing to learn something by ear.
Yeah, and I mean, like now you go online, but I remember like when we did Reese's record, and Kenny Wayne and I talked about it. We were going to split Riviera Paradise. Like you do one part, I'll do the other part. Great, and we'll do one verse. It was like whatever, but it was all Reese's thing. And I'm like, I really want to learn this correct. 'Cause it was like been 30 years since I played it, and I went online and I'm like going, that's fucking wrong. That's not even the right key, you know? And I'm like, so you know what I did? Went to Austin City Limits and watched him play. And I go, that's how you play that chord. Thank you very much. Good night. You know?
Yeah, that's the only way you could. I mean, yeah, you picked it out by ear, but if you didn't have access to a video or something, I mean, you'd be like,
Yeah.
you know, years later, I've seen something like, ah, man, that's how he did it, right?
And normally it's the simplest road to the goal. It's like, oh, that's how you fucking played it. Jeez, I'm like, I was overthinking it, like it was this complicated thing. I remember telling Jorgensen when I first heard like Orange Blossom Special, whatever he was doing, I learned it like that, and and he's like, oh, no, 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 it's half the notes. I just had a delay pedal. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. I'm
Are you
like,
kidding?
he goes, no, it's a Boss delay. He goes, you just set it for one repeat, equal volume at the same tempo as I'm like, no. He goes, oh, I never played it that fast. I'm like, you're fucking joking. I spent hours, all that, all that's there. And I'm like, you'd mean to tell me
Playing at half the time.
that he was going, and I tried it with the delay pedal, and I'm like, there you go.
It crushed your young dream.
I'm like going, how does it sound like? It's like I'm like, how is his alternate picking so consistent?
Yeah,
Because like normally it's something's got to give when it pivots. It doesn't. You can't get that. You can't get the same attack every time. I'm like, something doesn't make any sense here.
wow, that's an awesome story, man.
So, all right, man, I'm gonna run, but great to see you. Great hanging. Thanks for showing me all these cool guitars, dude. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I look forward
That's
to.
that's the Esquire I saw when you brought that to the gig.
That's my Esquire. I have the Gatemouth Esquire here too. Did you see that one?
No, 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 no. Break that out.
Yeah. Here's my other. That was my other kid guitar too.
Oh, the 140.
140. That one's clean too, man.
By the way, thin body, comes with a brown case that looks like a 5-latch Gibson. But for a Les Paul, guess what? It doesn't fit a Les Paul.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, yeah. It's got like it's kind
The
of
little brown case. It's got the little brown case, but it's the same size as the Les Paul, except the neck part of it is shorter.
it's exactly right. Yeah, it's kind of the it's kind of like a lavender plush color almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
killer, man.
this is the gate mouth.
I saw you guys on Pawn Stars with this thing, right? You guys were on
I,
the TV
I
show.
know, I know. It's you know, Billy Gibbons. He lives between here, L.A., Vegas. I guess he's real good friends with those guys from the show, being in Vegas, and they started a new series where they're traveling around, right? So they're coming to Austin, and I guess he mentioned about, you know, my dad with the guitars, and you know, so we did that whole thing.
Oh man, that was cool that they did it. I saw the Fiesta Red Duosonic and all that. I think the gate mouth was on there. I was like, yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, that's a guitar that Leo personally gave to Gatemouth in 51, I believe, 51 or 52.
Well, I'll tell you what, he gave BB King an Esquire too. Where the
Yeah.
fuck is that?
With what?
Where the fuck is he gave he gave Les Paul a Nocaster, BB an Esquire, which there's photos of, and gate mouth. It's like he was trying to get these Gibson guys over to his camp, and
I wonder
in
what
all
happened.
3 cases it didn't work.
I wonder what happened to that BB one, because I've seen those promo shots with him.
I want to know what happened to all of that, like the Argentine gray dot neck with the Veritone, the high powered twin from Live at the Regal, all those 355s, Blues is King. All I'm like, where is all that? There's not a like I asked Patty, I'm like, where is this old? Where's the old shit? He was like, he got rid. It's like it just disappeared and got rid of it and gave it away. And I'm like, but there's not a single one of those guitars that have popped up.
Yeah.
That this is where's the fucking walnut one from Live in Zaire? You know what I mean? It's like,
If anybody would have heard about it, it would have been huge.
I mean, when he died, every one of his valets, personal assistants contacted me like, I got one of BB's personal guitars. I'm like, yeah, you have a fucking Lucille. I'm not interested in that. He had hundreds of them. You know, he gave me a Lucille. I still have one of them he gave me. But I want to know where the old shit is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, and so yeah, Gatemouth signed that to I played, well, yeah, you saw that video. I played with him on the it was like it was in the same Austin City Limits room.
Right. So what how did you guys get it?
My dad bought it at a music store in Houston called well, the guy's name is Red Novak. What was the name of the music store? He'd kill me if I can't remember. Anyways, he would go there all the time, and I think he bought it in late '60s, and he told him, you know, that this was Gatemouth's Esquire that he recorded Okie Dokie Stomp on. And,
Wow.
So yeah, had it ever since, man. But and when I did that show, we brought it for, well, obviously we brought it for Gatemouth, and he took a look at it. He's like, "Yep, that's the guitar Leo gave me in late '51."
Well, it's a 51, which is even that's Esquires are super scarce between 50 and 51. 52 all day long, but no, that's a rare guitar.
So yeah, man, it sounds great too.
Awesome. All right, man. Well,
Joe, thank you so much, man. It's a great pleasure getting to hang.
yeah,
And
man.
I'm glad we could do this with the guitars, because
Well,
now tomorrow they got to go all the way back in the bank vault, man.
oh my God, yeah. How many did you get out today?
We
10, 12?
yeah, and you can only imagine the looks of all the the normal banking uh, customers in there as we start
Right.
loading in all those thermometer cases, right? And they, they're all the original case. I mean, people don't
Yeah.
know what they are, right?
Oh, you get the weird looks at the bank, and when you have like a flying V case on
Yeah,
a on an airplane, that's when you really get weird looks.
that's a weird one. Yeah.
Uh, but you know, it's well, thanks for doing all that, and give my best to your dad.